Sound good, everybody? Okay, Mark, recording. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call tonight's order in the absence of a chair at 5:02 p.m. All right, and since everybody was able to look at the agenda, is there any adjustments that anybody would like to make to today's agenda? Tyson, Ren? No? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go on to our minutes to approve.
Are you going to do the roll call?
Oh, yes, good call. Thank you. So roll call. Becky Hicks. Jen Myers. Here. Nancy Phillips. Eugene Stewart. Donna Neville. Here. Diane Snyder. Kaz Thompson.
Here.
Julie Nader.
Here.
Renee Rouse.
She's here.
She's present. Kristen Schweitzer.
Here.
Here, and I'm here also, Maya Martin Burbank, Adult Community Center Manager and Liaison. Okay, doing that. Now let's go ahead and get to some approval minutes. When we have an even number, Kristen or Renee, is 4 a quorum for 8? Yeah, we need 5, don't we?
Should be 1 over half.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So let's kind of table those approval of the minutes. Perhaps we might have a late joiner. Yes, I know. We've been trying to get these April minutes approved for a day or two. We'll get there. It'll happen. I have not received any citizen comments to read. So carrying on, I don't know if we can elect a chair and a vice chair without a quorum. Yeah.
So.
No, you cannot. Yeah, you have to wait for a quorum.
Okay.
And so really, ends up not being an official meeting until we have a quorum.
Okay.
But you can still share information if you would like to.
Well, if we can, if I can go ahead and make an adjustment to the agenda, let's go ahead and, Renee, do you have some updates from the council that we might be able to talk about?
Let me look here. I did pull up the agenda. We do have our new city manager. He started on the 8th. I think Kristen announced that last meeting, but he is officially in place. Let's see. Trying to think. I was looking at the agenda earlier today to see if there's anything interesting coming up that would be of help.
Did the chicken discussion take place?
Kristen, I wasn't there for that meeting. Did we have the chicken conversation?
We did have the chicken conversation. I'm sorry, I'm on my phone because I couldn't get my internet to work properly. But yes, we did have the chicken conversation, and they have asked staff to go ahead and work on putting together a proposal essentially to have an application process and to have a lower fee. It's not that necessarily that chickens weren't allowed before. It was just that it was so expensive because it was through the conditional use permit. So they are looking at trying to develop another avenue to do that. That would be a small application, a much smaller fee, and still some guidelines real similar to what our neighbors have done.
Wonderful, thank you. I just know it had come up at this meeting before, and I knew it had happened. So thank you, Kristen.
I do know that there was a big conversation, a discussion about the alfresco and whether or not that should continue. I believe that there was a number of businesses that were testifying and community members testifying. I haven't been debriefed completely on that, but I heard that it was very well attended and lots of good feedback. So that will be a continued conversation. Other than that, we've got the comprehensive plan adoption coming up, and design standards coming up that we've had first readings on. But that's all that I can see that's ahead of us of interest. So if there's any questions, I would entertain questions that you may have.
Wonderful. Any questions for Renee? Well, she has a singer in the background. No, okay. Without a quorum, can we enter into a discussion about the next steps and application for our age-friendly city?
Maya, you can share information that you've received and give an update. We just,
Okay.
yeah, we just
We just
won't be
can't
able to
move forward
vote
on
anything or take any action.
Okay, so we are continuing to work on the age-friendly city application. Kind of the next step is working with city council to have city council excitement and buy-in to the age-friendly process and to the age-friendly goals going forward. So right now we're trying to have a oh gosh, my brain just left. A working meeting. Yes. Thank you, Renee. Set up so that I can present that information that I shared with you earlier. And I'm hoping that maybe we'll have some of the survey results at that time too, so we can have some real ground to talk about. I met with Erica in community development about the age-friendly process, and she's also been to the AARP presentation that happened a few years ago and was very familiar with the process. And she sent me some of the verbiage in the comprehensive plan that is specifically part of what we'll be doing. So we're going to be really easily able to slide that verbiage into our application process to show that it is part of what we're working on. And we might as well go ahead and get nationwide accreditation for that and have that spoken out, because we are doing the work. It is happening here. So the more people that can know about that and the more work we can do there, I think is of great benefit to us.
Can we ask questions?
Sure.
I wondered, the application process, how far is it? I mean, do you have to wait till city council approves to move ahead on it?
We do, because we have to have a letter of commitment from the mayor or other elected official. So that letter of commitment just kind of is the final seal that we have full support, and we're not kind of doing this without elected official support, because we do need that going forward in order to enact real change.
Do we know how many seniors we have in Sherwood and how many senior apartment or housing units we have?
I don't have that information off the top of my head. Renee, do you happen to have those in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me, but there's a demographic section in the budget that should have some of that information in it.
Yeah. I know it's been in front of me, and I have it in various presentations. But off the top of my head, I don't have it right there.
Okay.
But we do know statistically that the senior population is the growing demographic. So we do know that there's a high importance of moving forward with this.
Do we know how long the waiting list is for the senior apartments that are subsidized?
I do not, but there's a long waiting list for apartments in general, and there's very few senior assisted apartments. So I would imagine it's even longer.
Right.
Yeah, and especially for first floor accessible apartments.
So
But that is part of the comprehensive plan, is to increase access housing and housing for all ages and incomes. I did see that in there.
do we have to use the AARP survey, or can we modify it, massage it?
And that's part of our discussion that I want to have is I sent you that survey as a baseline, so we can take a look at it, see if there's other things that we would like to find out at the same time, or things that you think are extraneous. But we need to kind of find our baseline and where we're starting from as we go through this process, and see where stakeholders in the public who are, might have other opinions on what's important to them than we might. So we want to really make sure that we're doing what the Sherwood community is looking forward to.
Is this to be sent to all citizens in Sherwood or just seniors?
To all citizens.
And how's that going to happen?
Yeah, great question. That leads right to the next little part. Is talking to you guys about distribution, because you guys are definitely a part of this process. My main thought is including it in perhaps the Archer, having it as a supplemental. I know that we have done the access sheets on the inside, but we'd have to find out how much it would cost to include kind of that extra weight, because it wouldn't be a light survey to include, but it'll be so comprehensive that it should give all of us some really good information. And then also having it on our survey software that we've used in the past, so that we can also just provide a link for people to fill out, to click on and then fill out. And we can, of course, have that across our city platforms and so forth, and hope that people will share that widely so we can get responses that way as well.
We can put it in the chamber newsletter as well. It goes out on a weekly basis, so it can go out in that.
Great.
And how do they return the survey? Say they were included with the Archer. How do we get them back?
How would you like to have them come back? What kind of solutions do you think might work for that?
Well, we can't put postage paid in there, I don't suppose, in the Archer. I think, well, the survey has to be cut down a bit, I think. But so it's not going to be as long, I hope, as it is currently. But there are a couple questions I think we should put in there. And one of the questions I have too is, do we need to provide this in Spanish?
Mm-hmm. I do have this this version in Spanish as well, but I think that's a great idea.
And what about, well, we need to let people know that it's coming, or it's going to, down the road, be aware. So they're looking for things, not just hit them with it. We need to put articles in the Gazette and the Archer to say, this is I guess this has to come after the workshop with City Council, but that be aware that we really need you to, fill out the survey and return it. I think the returning it is a problem. So
I believe I have the February Archer. So depending on the timing of the survey, as I write that February Archer, right? Yeah, the February Archer article, I can call that out at that particular point in time too.
Good.
I can't see from here which Archer I have, but I feel like I'm around that time, so we can coordinate.
Every 2 months? The Archer is every 2 months or every month?
Yeah.
Every 2 months.
It's about every 2 months, yeah. Well, some ideas I have for returns is we can have various collection stations located around the city in convenient locations, and drop-off points. I don't know about the ability to have a massive mailer that has paid return postage, but that does seem like that would be cost prohibitive.
Yes.
So I think we would be driving traffic to be able to either fill it out online, or be able to drop it off at drop boxes, or also maybe utilize a street team if you guys are willing to help do that and help recruit for that, where people perhaps go door to door and ask if people have filled out their survey, if they mind returning it, and also be available to talk directly to people about what we're doing, answer questions, and get specific feedback that might not be on the survey. Having some open ears like that is never a bad thing.
Well, that's a question that needs to be in there. What else would you like to share, kind of thing? But I want to know about, do we have to use the AARP survey? I guess my concern is all the the scale of how many different answers you can give. I don't know that that's that helpful. Anyway, what I'm wondering is we have to use their survey? Because it's, is this a way to tabulate the results? Is that why?
Yeah, this is the widespread survey that's been used repeatedly for this process. So it's kind of been a tried process to get to the point of the information that you want to know and where the differences are, and also how to measure it over time. So instead of having yes or no questions, is this better than it was last year? Is this better than the year before? Having that scale is definitely a part of making sure that those answers are clearer than the black and white answers, which tend to not lead to much clarity.
So is there a mechanized way of tabulating all this?
Yep. It's built into the system that we have, the online system. So like when we do our survey, we have volunteers input the handwritten ones, which is where the kind of the hands-on work is going to be coming for this group and volunteers that we're able to coordinate. I saw, Jen, you had a question. What?
So a couple things. The other piece of mail that's now going to everybody in Sherwood is the magazine. So it's starting in September, that started going. So I can actually talk to Elon about, they're always looking for material for that. They've already been kind of doing articles about the meal delivery. That would be a great follow-up to say, here's what's going on in the community. This is going to be coming out to community members. And then if there is going to be a link that people can log on to and take the survey, we could put that in the magazine. So that is something that I can follow up with her on, if that's another, I mean, that's another medium that everybody's flipping through, that, you know, the more they see it, the more they're going to want to participate. So I can talk to her if that works. And so let me make a note.
Yeah, the more outlets and the more people are seeing it and being familiar with it, as opposed to, what's this? The better. The more familiar people are and the more access they have to it, the better.
I love the drop site. That was the first thing that I was thinking of when we were talking about trying to get surveys back, because I think it would be extremely expensive. They are thick. I can see why they're thick, though. When I went through, you know, the checklist for age-friendly cities, it seems like, you know, there's a lot of items that have to be checked off for our city to be considered age-friendly, and the survey touches on a lot of those items in there. So I can see why it's so thick. I would be interested to have conversations with people about what they think in regards to the city. So I would be interested if you need people to go out and pick surveys up, like they just can't get them to drop sites and they need help. I know myself, and I bet I could get some other people who would be willing to help pick those up. So if that is an avenue that we need to explore, I would be happy to help kind of coordinate some of that.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's going to be a great component of this.
Yeah, I just, you know, just even from doing meal delivery, I think it's going to be hard for some people to be able to get out and get them back. And so
Sure.
I get that transportation can be limited for some. And so I'm happy to help in that avenue. And I know other people who would be happy to help do that as well.
And we, of course, we'll be putting them in our meal bags. Like that's kind of a given at this point.
Yeah.
And it could be double-sided too, the survey.
Oh, they
Yeah.
will be double-sided, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful. The other thing too is when we have a link to the site, I've been making QR codes. In my ad one month, I can put the QR code in the magazine, so people can just, there are some really savvy people who can just scan that and it'll take them right to the link. They won't have to type it in, and then they can go through and they can take the survey. Like, the easier we can make it for people, the more feedback we're going to have. So that's an idea also that we could do.
I would imagine we'd be able to coordinate with the library as well as a point of reference and drop off, right?
And hopefully the YMCA would be a great place to have as a drop off and point of contact. I feel like once we get doing this, maybe Julie, if you want to reach out to the chamber and see if there's other businesses that might be willing to have Dropbox sites.
Sure, I can do that.
Wonderful. Welcome, Nancy. We have a quorum now, everybody. We have a quorum.
Oh my goodness.
Yay. Wednesdays at 5 is dinner time, and I'm always in a rush.
Well, I am so happy to see you and thank you for making it today. We're talking about the survey right now,
Okay.
the Age-Friendly City Survey.
So do you want us to go through point by point or?
Well, let's take a quick break from this discussion. I do know that Kaz has some constraints on her time. So while we have a quorum, let's get through some business that we can only do while we have that quorum. If that's okay for everybody. Would that work?
Sure.
Okay. So the first thing up is our minutes, our April 14th minutes. So those of you who are at that meeting, have you had a chance to look for them? And do you have any discussion that we need to have on those? Hearing no replies, I'm going to assume we're good with discussion. And does anybody want to move that we approve those minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from April 14th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay or
Yay.
aye.
Yay!
All those opposed say nay. Hearing no nays, I am calling that approved, finally. And then for our September minutes, are there any changes or discussion on our September minutes? Okay, hearing none. Does anyone want to move for approval?
I approve.
You move for approval?
Yes, Julie.
Right, and any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving our September meeting minutes, say aye.
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 All those against, say nay. Hearing none, I call that approved. Fabulous. Thank you, everyone. Next order of business is the election of a chair and a vice chair for our board who will run the meetings and tabulate the votes and so forth. And speaking to some people, I know there's some interest in being vice chair. Does anybody want to come forward to become vice chair for our board?
I'll be vice chair.
All right. Does anybody else want to be vice chair? All right. Hearing and notice. What was that, Julie?
Chair. Who is the chair?
I thought I'd start easy.
Oh,
All right. Does anyone want to nominate Jen as our vice chair?
I nominate Jen as our vice chair.
Thanks,
All right. Okay, so officially nominated. All those in favor of Jen as vice chair, say aye.
aye.
All those against, say nay. Hearing none. Jen, congratulations. You are vice chair. Thank you so much for stepping forward.
Oh, no.
And how about chair?
I'll step forward for that.
Oh, good.
You sound so excited.
It's been a long day and I've still got to go and teach a class, so I'm like,
She's just getting really psyched up for her class inside.
Wow.
All right. Does anyone want to officially nominate Kaz as our board chair?
Sure.
I nominate Kaz.
I'll second.
All right. And all those in favor as Kaz as chair?
Aye.
Yay.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, Kaz, you're our chair. Oh, thank you.
woohoo!
Wonderful. All right, so we've got our business taken care of. Thank you all for playing along and allowing us that little twist of our agenda today. So, what we're discussing about with the survey, Nancy, is its length. Do we want to include everything that we have in there from AARP, and how do we want to distribute it? So, we discussed distributing it by providing an online link and survey. Jen is going to provide a QR code for easy access to that. It'll be in the Woodhaven magazine, the Archer, the chamber newsletter that goes out weekly as well. It'll be in our blast and then on our Facebook, the city's Facebook. We're hoping in the Archer, if we're able to get it out that way, we'll have drop points at various local businesses and city buildings for people to drop that off, so we can have that engagement. But also we're hoping to probably have some street teams that will be you guys and some volunteers that you're able to wrestle up to go out and meet people where they are, to help them fill out the surveys, discuss what we're doing, the whys, the hows, and hear directly from them what their concerns are. So that should bring you up to where we are now. Anybody have some input there? We're just getting ready to go through the questions on the survey. Is there any
general thing?
General things? Okay.
Maybe at the beginning, we could say this questionnaire was compiled by AARP. Give them credit, but take away that, are you a member of AARP? Because I don't think that's a good question.
Okay.
I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay. Do you remember what number that is? Just so I can get to it fast.
The AARP thing?
Yeah.
It's near the end. Let's see. I'm not able to find it easily.
Okay. I have a note so I can go back
It's in
later.
there. It was
There
in
it is.
somewhere.
Your spouse partner. It's D4. So
D4.
I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
go ahead and take out D4. Now somebody screams to not. It's going now. Okay.
No.
Next up.
I think that there's 6 options. Can't we cut that down to 3 or 4 in each of these questions? I just think but you said that there is some tabulation already set up. That wouldn't be possible.
It can go either way. As far as data gathering, it's nice to have multiple points so you can show growth when there's minor change. So instead of good, okay, and terrible, the line is much more likely to move from fair to good or from good to very good than it is from terrible to fine or fine to excellent. So it's just a matter of what you feel comfortable with.
I would suggest that we keep as much of the data in as possible, because this is the first time doing it and you want to get as much information as you can. So I would suggest that we keep the options as they are.
And of course, when we do further studies, we can focus in specific areas and monitor change there. But because this is a baseline survey, we're trying to gather as much information as possible.
I think that there's 2 things, I guess, that I would like to see included. One would be, do you have or do you use a computer? I don't think that's in there. Did I miss it?
No, I don't believe I saw that. I think that's a great question.
Agree.
And are you asking just for a computer or for internet connection as well?
Well, yeah, internet connection, I guess, is the important part of that. How do you receive information? I have newspaper, monthly Sherwood Gazette, bi-monthly Archer, personal computer, home phone, cell phone, public computer, mail, and TV. So I don't know if it's reasonable to put all those in there.
Can you send those to me?
Sure.
Okay. Then I
Um,
could do a mock-up and see what it looks like.
and
Or
you
if
know,
anybody has a passion about that now.
On that one, on that line item, are you looking for the primary way that they receive information?
Q31. Let's see.
Where did it go?
Oh, where is it?
So I've got Q30.
I guess that's what I wanted to put in. It's
Oh, you
not.
want it to be in Q31. Gotcha.
Right. I just think it would be good to know, how do people get their information? If we could.
I think
We can do a check all that apply.
Pardon?
Yeah, I think
You mean to
I
put
like
like
the
maybe a check all that apply?
Q31 would be a new, a new piece there.
I think another useful question regarding that would be, do people have access to the internet? Because I know that's one of the disparities that we're seeing, especially since COVID, is people, do they have access to the internet? And is it through their smartphone? Is it through, how do they use that?
They have, under Q30, they have free access to computers and the internet in public places. But there's nothing about personal computer. I don't know. I think that's a little messy there. I think we could just bing, bing,
We
bing,
could
bing,
clean
bing.
up the verbiage for Q30 and include it so that it is more broad in what it's asking, and ask, do you have access or do you use a computer to access the internet? And then
Yeah.
we can break it down by how, check all that apply. And
Yeah.
that kind of covers all that will be included in that.
Yeah.
That makes it kind of more succinct.
And I think there needs to be an open-ended question, and I think I mentioned earlier, about sharing other thoughts and concerns, because maybe there are things that we haven't thought of.
Yeah.
And that will be a personal compilation, I guess. Bodies.
Yeah, and there's, as far as programming the online one, it's an easy one to program in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it easy to put in these options? So what do you use in Sherwood, for instance? If we were to make a Q31, which enumerates all the ways people get information, is that a possibility to add something like that?
It is.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you.
Do we have further discussion on the questionnaire?
So Maya, this is the standard questionnaire that other cities who have gone through this process use.
Yeah.
Correct. It'd be interesting to compare cities of like sizes down the road once we get our survey results back, just to see
Oh yeah,
how we compare.
I'm super stoked on that.
So should we have some sort of an introductory paragraph letting people know about the point of the survey?
Yep.
Or are we happy just with the what we've already got? You know, at the beginning, it's got age-friendly community survey. We would like to find out about your community and what you'd need as you get older to make the community a better place to live. Are we happy with that, or would you like to change any of the wording on that?
Well, just give credit to AARP there and take out that D3.
I tell you, it's gone.
Well, I mean,
I think giving some clear.
Oh, sorry.
D4.
Go ahead, Jen.
I think it would be good to state why we're sending it out. Like, I am curious as to what people think, but I think they won't fill it out unless we give them a purpose. We have to tell them the purpose of the survey is so that we can make this change in our community. I think if they just think if we're just wondering what our thoughts are, like I wouldn't fill it out. But if I got something and I knew, hey, the purpose of this is to make this type of change in our community, I would be more motivated to fill it out. So I think we have to give them some motivation in that.
And I think we should also mention that it's actually the Sherwood Advisory Board who are sponsoring this, so that people will know the reason why all of a sudden they're getting it. And then if we give it out, if it's in a public place, it's like, well, you're in Taggart, you can't apply for it because it's for city, like the requirements of Sherwood.
Yeah, that's why that first question, I was like, I think that's really quite important to this work. All right, is that something that one of you feels passionate about writing and bringing to our next meeting?
The introductory paragraph?
Yeah.
I can do it.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, because it'd be good to have something to go off of, and then we can get that added, and at that point probably get the survey out. I see Donna's hand is up. Donna, what's up?
I was just wondering about the survey, and nobody mentioned email. I do a lot of surveys, and I get them in email, and I answer them and submit them right on email. It's so easy that way. I mean, that would be easy. As far as someone filling out a survey and taking it to a drop-off, I don't know if I would do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I know I'll be including it in our mail outs that I do weekly. And Renee mentioned that she'll have it in the Chamber of Commerce email that goes out.
And I can send it out to the YMCA members as well, the seniors.
Yeah, and I think we can also encourage people to share that email liberally. We kind of all can see the benefit of when we get an email from a friend that has something in it. I know I'm more inclined to pay attention to it than some of the other emails I get. So I think that's a great way too. If we all individually send it out to people that we know that are in Sherwood, I think that's a great way to also help disseminate that.
Yeah, I can send that out to my customers in Sherwood. That's Wonderful. A good idea. Yeah. Okay.
No, it's a great point, Donna.
Maybe Jen, maybe in the introduction to this, we could suggest that it was started with the World Health Organization. I mean, it's a part of an international program, and that Portland was the only U.S. city who participated. I think that's significant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
And the information from that has been used to write many studies, many theses about area use and aging. So it's the data that has come out of Portland being engaged in that has been hugely informative. And I should say, Kaz, do you want to step in as chair, or do you want me to keep going for today? Because I know you're kind of on your phone and in a weird position.
Yeah, I'm like in the middle of Starbucks, so I'm happy for you to continue. And hopefully next week I will be at a real computer.
Wonderful. Okay, is there any further discussion about the survey, or do we want to table that until our next meeting when we will discuss the opening paragraph and get it ready for distribution?
Well, if you want to go through item by item, Q9, sorry,
Q9.
I think we could put townhouse or condo rather than row house, because I mean, does Heatherwood a row house? I don't know how many row houses we have.
We have option number 5 also that is condominium or co-op. So we can also just take out the second.
Take that out.
House.
Take that one out, really, I think.
Okay.
Okay, I think on transportation, Q16,
Okay.
I think we could eliminate take a taxi and put that under use a ride source company such as taxi, Uber, or Lyft.
Because of the lack of taxi service in Sherwood.
Yeah, well, I don't know what people use really.
Well, that's why we're asking.
We could
find out what people
eliminate that one if it works with the tabulation. Okay. I don't know.
I would argue to leave that in as
Yeah.
as we're doing a baseline.
Okay.
And if we get it back and there's just no one says that, then that informs us for how we do our follow-up surveys. And then we also know for certain.
Do we have a goal when we want to get this out? A
That's a
goal
great
date?
question. I'm wanting to get it out as soon as possible so we have the data when we are presenting to other people. But what are the board's feelings?
How does it get printed and all of that?
I couldn't quite hear you.
How does it get printed?
Does the city print it?
Oh,
So you can have some on the computer.
Paz, I'm going to mute you for just a second because I think I'm hearing your background noise. Thank you. Okay, sorry.
So the hard copies that get printed, who does all of that?
It's something that we'll have to look into.
Okay.
I think that on Q21, how often is missing. DO, you feel the following. How often do you feel the following?
Okay.
Do we need, we don't have activities that offer senior discounts, do we?
What better way to find out? Which question are you looking at?
Huh?
Which question are you looking at?
I'm looking at Q24C. Q24C.
I mean, if there's memberships at various facilities that have a senior discount, or going to movies that have a senior discount, or there's a lot of different places that have the opportunity to offer senior discounts, and so I think that's a worthwhile question to include, or to find out if that's something that would drive more people to perhaps go to something if there is a senior discount and they're lacking that.
Uh-huh. Do we have a community center other than the senior center? No. So if you look at Q23, they have the option community center. If you don't have one, I don't think we need to put that in there.
Well,
We could change
sometimes
that.
people refer to the Y as the community center. Though.
Okay.
I've also heard the community church referred to as the community center.
Okay.
And is there an interest in that?
So perhaps we could include in Q23 about the YMCA.
I feel like that's valid.
Yeah, I agree. We'll refer to the YMCA as a community center.
Okay. Thank you.
So should we do community center / YMCA? Or should we have its own line item?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I know it's totally cheating, but that is easier. And it also clarifies what they're asking there too. So
yeah.
Okay.
What if people prefer not to answer some of these questions? Do they have that option?
We want to encourage them to answer as many questions as possible. Although we could have a note in the opening paragraph, I guess, that if they don't want to answer a question or don't have an answer, they can leave it blank.
And I think we're getting into the weeds when we look at D12 when we're talking about languages, because there are probably people who speak Chinese in our community and maybe Korean, so forth. Do we need to broaden that?
I think that's a really good idea. That
Okay.
is a very singular, I should say dualistic way of looking at language that does not exist. So maybe that could be a write-in.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely people in our community that is neither one of those apply. So
And there should be on D16, there needs to be a number 9. Prefer not to answer.
anybody else feel strongly about that one, yay or nay? I'm going to take that as no.
I just feel like if that was something I didn't want to answer, I just wouldn't answer it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that could be covered with the, if you don't want to answer something, leave it blank. Although I feel like that's asking for people to leave it blank. So you guys can decide on that.
Yeah, I mean, the survey's thick. There are a lot of questions, which I actually like because it'll give us the opportunity to get more information. If people get tired and they don't want to fill it out, at least we'll have answered a bunch of other questions prior to that. I don't know. I mean, if there are some that are really kind of walking the line, I mean, I think it would be better to have the option of prefer not to answer than have a blanket statement in the beginning to not fill it out. Because I feel like once people start feeling like it's long, they'll be like, oh, but the instructions said I don't have to fill it out. I'd rather than be like, oh man, I know it's long, but I really got to keep going. And then have the option on some of those other questions to say not to answer.
And I do like that there's that expectation at the beginning. This will take 20 minutes to fill out.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. And with the online information, we can enter half filled out forms, or if a form is filled out only to a certain point online, it's still counted up until that point. And that's also a data point that we have is how far people got.
Yeah.
So the Q1 says, are you a resident of Sherwood, Oregon, or live in the 97140 zip code? Isn't this just for Sherwood?
Yes, it is, but we just want to make sure.
Okay, because at the very bottom it asks, what is your zip code?
Yeah.
Is that just double checking to make sure people know that this is for Sherwood? Okay.
It's kind of one of those trick questions.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if it's a big deal, because if they're not, then none of this matters.
Right, I agree. Are there any instances where, I guess this is considered mailing, your mailing address, your physical address, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not somebody who has, say, lives out of the city limits and has a post office box.
Yeah.
Okay. I just think of Pat. She's at the senior center all the time, but she doesn't live in Sherwood.
Oh yes, that Pat. Yeah. Sorry, we have a lot of Pats.
I was going through my head. I was like,
I know. I was like,
she's a sweetheart.
oh yeah, she's lovely. But you're right. So it wouldn't be applicable to her.
Right.
Any more discussion about survey questions? We're kind of getting there on our time here.
Well, I just urge you to prepare people. I think if we don't let them know it's coming, we're going to not get the response we want. I think people need to understand. And maybe when would that happen? I mean, we have deadlines with everything. So Maya, do you have to do the workshop with city council and get approval before we move ahead?
For our survey portion, I think, and this is up to you guys, but this is information that we'd want to have as a board anyway, just kind of to help guide us as we're going forward, whether we are able to be successful with an AARP age-friendly application. And so I think we can feel comfortable moving forward with the survey now. And then if we happen to have some results coming in when we're talking to city council, all the better. I think that's fine. I don't know that that's the timeline. I feel that the survey might take a little bit longer to get out than it'll take for us to have a conversation with city council. Renee can kind of speak to that better than I can about their scheduling, but I don't think we have to wait to get started on this for that process.
So as I looked at the agenda forecast, I'm guessing the first that it'll happen is probably towards January, but I could be wrong. I mean, I would encourage you and Kristen to reach out to our new city manager as soon as possible to get it on the schedule. But I also would encourage the committee to get as much data and information ahead of time and come to the work session well armed to be able to respond to any question that might be posed. I don't foresee any pushback on it, but I've always been a fan of having as much information as possible to do a presentation so that there's all the answers or all the questions can be answered as much as possible.
Exactly.
So for the magazine, they prepare their issues well in advance. So like we're in October, I just okayed the November ad. So anything that we do, I have to have way in advance. So if the survey is going to be going out in December, I would need to know right away so that I can work with Elon. If it's going to go out in January, I need to be able to okay it by the beginning of December. So when you have an idea of when you think it might be going out, let me know, because then that will let me know my timeline is to work with them and develop everything.
And I think that goes along with general publication guidelines for, the Sherwood Gazette and the Archer and everything else. I think with our timeline of being able to get stuff done, I think maybe we should aim for a January.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Makes sense.
I think that gives us the time to be able to find out the answers and not rush it, and be able to discuss what we're doing and get it out as a unit, as a group.
So what is the time frame to get an article in the Archer? How far ahead do they need it?
As soon as possible, but it depends on if you have, like Renee was saying, her month is February. I need to check what month mine is. For those, we can get it in, the week of before publication or so. We have various deadlines on that, but I'll have to check and get back to you on that.
And who's writing that?
Well, if it's Renee's section, it'll be included in Renee's. If it's in my section, it'll be included in mine. If we're trying to figure out how to print it separately, then it'll be its own entity, and that will be what Jen's going to write the draft of, and then we'll talk about at our next meeting.
And what about the Gazette? Who's writing that article?
I figured we'll probably just submit the
same thing.
Yeah, so okay. Messaging is equal across the board.
Great. This is real progress, you guys.
Yes. Getting it done. Moving forward. How you gotta do it, right? So before, let's see, that's updates, we did that. talked about the distribution and the baseline assessment. So if we're ready to kind of move on from the survey, we can go into other business. Yeah, okay. So just really quickly, we're coming up on the end of our year. So we're getting ready for doing our annual SWOT, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats report. For those new to the board, it's something that we do every year and present in December. So at our next board meeting in November, we're going to be talking about that and preparing that document so that we can share it. I'm not quite sure if we'll be able to do the all boards meeting and dinner that have happened in years past. Renee, have you heard anything about how we're going to be doing that?
I have not. Like I said, as I got the agenda update today, that's one of the things I was looking at, is to see if there was a forecast for December. And we've got our meeting on the 7th already forecasted, but nothing beyond that. So I don't know if it's on the radar yet with Keith being so new. Kristen, have you heard anything?
We've talked about it a little bit at a management level. I'm not sure, and I've brought it up to Keith. I'm not sure how we're gonna, and also to the mayor. I'm not sure if we're going to try to do something in person, and then at this point need to be requiring people to wear masks, or if it'll be some sort of an online format, or if we will look at just submitting our reports again, and then council can use them for goal setting.
Okay, thank you. And I'll be sending out what that document looks like with the minutes from this, so you guys all can see exactly what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to share my screen so you can see that now, just so you can be thinking about that for, it's your homework basically for our next meeting amongst everything else. Okay, can you guys see that?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we just come up with the strengths of our board, where our weaknesses are, what opportunities we can see for our work, and what are various threats to our work. And then we also want to come up with our 2 or 3 most significant accomplishments for this last year, and what are our goals for next year. So it's a really good kind of check-in on ourselves and what we're doing as a board, and where we want to go.
Are you going to send that to us?
Yeah, yep. Like I'm going to send that out with our minutes and everything after this meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anything else that people want to talk about as I figure out how to stop sharing my screen?
Do you think you should talk about the food bank agreement? Inform us.
I don't think yet. I think that's something that we can talk about if it's necessary after we figured that out. Yeah, that it's Friends of the Senior Center business. Oh, Kristen has a comment. Yes, Kristen.
Yes, I was just going to add really quick on the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats form. I've been involved in quite a few of them. And if you are able to go ahead and email it to everyone, I would suggest if anybody has any comments or suggestions, email those back individually to Maya. Don't do a reply all, but email them back to Maya. And then that way, she and Kaz can work together for the next meeting to have a draft prepared so that we're not trying to go through it and come up with items and spending a lot of time in wordsmithing. But then we can take a look at what people have submitted, see what needs to be tweaked as opposed to starting from scratch.
Perfect. So I'm just making a note to myself. All right. Any other new business? Okay. 6:01. There's no other new business. Jen, as our vice chair, co-chair, since Cass isn't able to chair, do you want to maybe see if anybody wants to adjourn the meeting?
So you'll have to walk me through this. Do I just say, does anybody want to adjourn the meeting?
All business being completed, is there a motion to adjourn our meeting?
Okay. All business being completed, is there a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I motion.
Does anybody?
Sound good?
Second.
All in
All
favor?
right.
Aye.
All right. What time is it, Jen?
It's 6:02 p.m.
6:02 exactly, an hour on the dot. We got so much done today.
Great.
Hi,
Thank
everybody.
you. Can't wait to see you again November 10th at 5 o'clock.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank-
bye everybody.